I think it's important to be strategic with the shows that you're on. If you're not strategic about how you're being placed on podcasts, like, why are you doing it?
Tamara's really pulled me out of my comfort zone, but there's a lot of people that have great information to share that needs to be spread with more people in the world. And it's like, what do you say to them to help build their confidence? Like, what if they are a little timid from wanting to be on podcasts to start?
It's very hard to just take off on things like that, but people do need to resonate with your content. But it's like, why not start by being on other people's shows to practice sharing your message, your story, whatever it is, your expertise to get yourself out there. So that's really what I think it is I think podcast booking is probably one of the easier ways to do it.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Broadcast Your Authority. I'm Danielle Thompson, and I'm here with my co-host, Tamara Thompson.
Hey, everybody.
Cool. And today we're going to talk about how to get booked on podcasts and what that entails. Lately, we've been getting a lot of pitches to Instagram Messenger, and
we should talk about how to approach someone and how not to approach someone.
There we go.
I think that's more of a topic. On that side. Well, you literally just yesterday had a conversation where you screenshotted it, and the individual, your question was just like, well, what type of topics do you share on, would you like to share on more shows? You could fill in the answer that you got.
Everything around aliens, like blowjobs. I'm like, what in the world?
No, it was like politics, sports, blowjobs, extraterrestrials. I was like, and in that order.
That is like a really great skill set.
I don't know if that was a skill set or just topics that he wanted to rant about on that side. So, I mean, I don't. Is that a skill set? I mean, I guess that could be a skill set.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're trying to really, for real, pitch yourself on a podcast, I mean, you're not going to necessarily like write something like that. Like, we primarily work with successful businesses, founders, corporations. And so when we share, when we get our clients booked on podcasts, so we get them booked in the top 1 to 10% in their niched industry. And so it's really important for when you're getting booked on shows to, pay attention to the shows that you're pitching.
Exactly.
And pay attention to the topics that they're going to want to have on the show. Are you an expert in that field? You might not be talking about aliens or things like that. Because we
even though it's fun. I like the alien.
You can have a talk show. You can have a conversational talk show. Like we're doing a little bit more of a conversational one right here, but we're going to share some value and some tips as well. But when you really are out there looking to get booked on shows, you really have to position yourself first. Like, what's the value that you provide? Where are you going to lead them? Do you have accolades? Do you have certain topics, things you can do? You have a book that you can promote? A lot of people will come to us and they have a book to promote, right? So they launch their book and then they go on their podcast virtual booking tour, right? So they can promote their book from anywhere through that podcasting series, that you go get booked on shows. Like, what is it that you provide though? Like, we even provide like the speaker one sheet, the podcast one sheet, it has your bio, your headshot, your accolades, your speaking topics. Like, let somebody know a little bit about yourself first, and the value that you share. A lot of the times I've seen people come in to lead with an ego, and it's really disheartening at times where people just come in and, they're just like, me, I'm cool, I did this, me. And it's just like, well, you're also now stepping into that podcast host house. That host built that audience that you are now leveraging. So be kind and humble about it when you get booked on shows, and build a relationship with that host longer term. A lot of our clients come in and they're so cool because they come in, they have their expertise. They're humble when they step into the space. Then they turn around and they build a relationship with that host for further opportunities. We've had clients that say, hey, they just asked me to come back for a part 2 on the show because they love the conversation so much. Or they realize that I'm an expert also in this arena or this topic. So they're like, oh, I'd love to have you come back and talk about that topic. Or on the side of, hey, that was such a great podcast. I have a mastermind community, or I'm doing a webinar, or I'm having an event. I would love for you to speak to my audience again about these topics, because that's getting your foot in the door, leveraging other people's audiences, building relationships longer past that one podcast episode. on that side and being able to become a power partner, right? How can you help serve these hosts? Because a lot of these top shows that get, thousands of downloads and they have, a lot of subscribers maybe on YouTube or on their social media channels. It's really important to just build relationships long term. Don't think about going on a podcast booking tour as just like this one time, activity that happens, but how can you leverage this longer term, go on these podcasts, build relationships, and let the world know what you do and have them be attracted to you as well. So I think that's one of the biggest things is cut the ego.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we see that all the time with people trying to pitch through Instagram and Facebook and other platforms. And it's like, what value are you giving? And you and I have always been like go-givers. So we're constantly trying to give value first. Mm-hmm. And so when we see these messages that in our gut do not resonate, like you could send me like you were on all these TV networks and these podcasts, or you're like this big name in the industry and I literally have never heard of you before. Mm-hmm. Like that type of energy just doesn't resonate with
you're almost throwing yourself on somebody.
Yeah.
And nobody likes that. Like, it's like you vomited on me. I'm like, you were what? You did what? What show are you on? I'm like, I don't watch TV.
Yeah, and I'm thinking about
why will my audience love you? What value are we going to teach our audience on that side? Just because they want to get on our show because literally people reach out because they're like, oh, I see you do really cool videos in a studio, and I'm like, what do you do? I'm like, did you look our show up? I said, do you know what type of people we interview? Mm-hmm. Have them don't even ask.
I always find it funny when you get email pitches in, and it's like, oh, this person would be I love your show. This person would be a great fit for your show. And they're like a person teaching interpretive dance to cats. And it's like, makes no sense for our show. And it's like, I
guess they are broadcasting their authority.
I mean, I would love to see cats do an interpretive dance.
I just want to accept that just as a bonus.
And episode. That would be a different episode. But I would love totally to talk about aliens and stuff like that. But it's not.
Hey, I'm totally cool to talk about aliens. Are they a founder that has built success leading to something about aliens? Like, do you have a cool T-shirt shop that does alien T-shirts? Cool.
That could be relevant.
Whatever that looks like. But I think it's important to understand, one, what is their show about? Get to know the host a little bit before you pitch them. Listen to a few episodes. One of the requirements that some of the people that we pitch is that they actually ask if the guest will take a listen to one of their episodes. Mm-hmm. And, you shouldn't come back and be like, oh, I think that was boring or something people are out there just writing really rude commenting things out there. It's like when you go and pitch people, be smart about how you actually approach people and compliment people or, figure out what kind of value that you have to share. Are you even a right fit for their show? Really think about it just to think of that. And the whole podcast swap thing. Let's talk about that for a second.
Uh-oh.
So the podcast swap thing, I believe it's a great method when it makes sense, right? So I've done it for our show, right? Because they have if an audience has this whole audience across the board that we both are in alignment and the shows are in alignment and our audiences are in alignment, I say yes, go for it. But on social media, if you're just in these groups, these Facebook groups all the time, you just see all these people all the time. Who wants to do a podcast swap? Me. Do you ask any questions? How many downloads do you get? What's your show about? All this stuff. Just people just going just to be on a show. I think it's important to be strategic with the shows that you're on. Don't waste your time going on a show that just started yesterday just because it's your best friend's dog's girlfriend or whoever the heck
what?
Is. I'm just kidding.
I don't even know what that means.
No, I'm just kidding. But don't just do something just to do it. Just be like, oh, I've talked to people that are like, oh, I've been on 1,000 podcasts. I've done 1,000 podcast swaps. I'm like, and where did it get you? Did it bring you business? Well, no. How did you leverage the podcast? Did you present your offers? Did you talk about your business, your book? well, no. People just like go just to like do this. But like, if you're not strategic about how you're being placed on podcasts, like, why are you doing it? At this point, when people ask me to be on their shows, like, if it makes sense, I'm totally 100% in. If it doesn't make sense, I'm not going to dance, in a tutu on a show or whatever. But maybe America's Got Talent or something. But yeah, I think it just needs to be strategic for when you're being booked on shows, how you pitch yourself. If it's yourself pitching someone or having somebody else represent you and do the pitches, like, make sure it's right for what you're doing and it makes sense. And what's the bigger goal from this? Are you trying to get leads? Are you trying to get a following? Are you trying to build partnerships, relationships? You need to be more strategic with how you do it.
Yeah, and it's different from having like a speaker agency that's getting you booked on stages. Like this, we're talking about two different things here. So,
well, and I think people get that mixed up too. So, like, you can consider a virtual podcasting tour. A podcast is considered a virtual stage, right? It's a virtual stage, but it's a little bit different than like a virtual event or an in-person event. And I know a lot of our clients, like, that's their goal, is to become speakers or get booked on stages and things like that. And, what to charge, or like, what do I do? Like, how do I get on more stages? And I told every single one of them, I said, get on other people's podcasts first. That's your first, like, that's your virtual stage. Get on those shows first, have the practice, tell the stories. You can perfect even a talk in a way, some of the ones that you can present more of like a structured talk to an audience on a podcast, depending on the structure of the show, of course. But at that point, it's just like, get out there and do that first, get the connections, because those people that have podcasts have stages, they have events, they have networks, they have virtual events, they have webinars, they have all these different things, they have email lists. Get on their podcast first, build a relationship, and then they will kindly ask you to be on the stage. Don't ask them to be on the stage. I don't know how many people have come in saying like, hey, can I speak at your event?
Oh my goodness.
And I'm like, what value are you going to provide?
Right. And that goes back to like some of my favorite clients to work with are the ones that are hidden gems. Like, they're the ones that maybe they're more introverted, maybe they ambiverts, and they just they're not like, so our personalities, as we've said in other podcasts, but your personality trait is like influence. So you like being on camera. You're super confident. But I'm the opposite.
You do great.
I cringe at experiences like this. Tamara's really pulled me out of my comfort zone. But there's a lot of people that have great information to share that needs to be spread with more people in the world. And it's like, what do you say to them to help build their confidence? Like, what if they are a little timid from wanting to be on a podcast to start?
Yeah, well, I think, it's normal to be scared and timid to like be speaking in front of an audience, right? I think actually podcasts are an easier way to do it because the majority of them are not done live. You're done with one other person typically, unless there's other co-hosts. It's a lot easier to practice speaking and sharing your story and message to a camera that then goes live later. Where you're like, I don't have to watch it.
And you're building a foundation. Like, so many people want to get and jump into it and be like, I want to be the next Mel Robbins or Joe Rogan and all of this. And it's like, you need to practice. These people are putting out content
for years.
Daily, for years. Joe Rogan already had a name before he started his damn podcast.
Exactly.
So
I applied for X Factor.
You have to practice.
No, not X Factor. What was it called? Was it X Factor? No, was that also Extreme? There was a show. So
I thought it was a game show. Like
I applied for his first show when I was 20 years old. They literally wrote me back. They said, you have everything that we are looking for. You are not 21. I said, I am going to be in 4 months. They're like, sorry, try back then. They're like, you're perfect for the show. You're not 21. I was like, no. So I was like manifesting me and Joe Rogan, right? But that was like years ago. So, but that's the point. Like, we were talking about a conversation the other day with someone, like I was saying, like, they were like, what's it take to be the next Mel Robbins? I'm like, why don't you focus on being the next you? Like, you should be
and you're gonna make mistakes. Like, I know I've looked at myself on camera and I'm like, I have like spit like all over my mouth.
Well, Mel Robbins isn't perfect. Rachel Hollis isn't perfect. Rachel Hollis would roll out of bed with her hair just all messy, and all the women loved it because she just was so raw and authentic and just, oh, she just kind of rolled out of bed, and that's how she does content. So if people resonate with that, just be you to be the next you on that side. So it's like, you don't have to be the next Joe Rogan. You'd be like, how do I get content to take off like he does? But he already had a following. That's the whole point there. So other things like Mel Robbins, she was depressed and had other things, and she had a break and she took off, right? But it's very hard to just take off on things like that. But people do need to resonate with your content. But it's like, why not start by being on other people's shows to practice sharing your message, your story, whatever it is, your expertise, to get yourself out there. So that's really what I think it is I think podcast booking is probably one of the easier ways to do it. And you don't have to be as consistent, because you're showing up on sporadic notes to show up on this person's show versus being consistent with your own show. Those that want to start a podcast though, and they're like, oh, I'm just not a consistent person. That's okay, though, because you can learn to batch record and record once a month. You record 4 episodes in one sitting, you're done for the month. Pass it off, delegate, whatever that looks like. So, you can go either route, really. So,
and even then, like, you're still perfecting it over time. Like, if there's things that you're watching back and you're like, I want to do this better in the next episode. Like, you really have the time to refine it.
Critique yourself.
And like so many times, like, people just like give up on something, and it's like you should just be refining it, because that one, like, there's been times like I think her name's Adley. She's like a YouTuber, and she was like, there's this one video, and she just didn't like the way she looked, and she was like, this is horrible. We're not going to post it. And the editor was like, what happened to this content? She's like, I deleted it. He's like, well, I just retrieved it. Freaking posted it. That thing went viral, and it like made her a lot of money. And it's like so many times, like, we're over there critiquing the way we look, the way we sound. Like, I personally hate my voice.
I say just leave it up. Like, if you have content that's out there, like, just leave it up. Don't lose the views. Don't lose it. I mean, it just shows like who you are, where you started from, and where you're going,
and be real and relatable.
Yeah, be
yourself.
Be relatable. Be yourself on that side. You don't have to be perfect. I'm definitely not a polished speaker, but I get up and speak on stage. I'll share a story or share a tip. Okay. Try sharing a story in 4 minutes. True story. That was the hardest challenge I've ever done.
Yeah. So she had to speak for 4 minutes on stage, and it was given her whole life experience, and it's really challenging to condense it to that. But that was, you went up there confidently.
I went up confidently. The motto was share 10 years of experience in 4 minutes. I was like, 10 years in 4 minutes. I was like, it's not even like 30 seconds.
And it's so hard to even do that. I would have been like, and I had a cat, and then I went and I moved to Seattle, and then I did it. No, it can't even.
All I know is the people backstage, I was like, did I get my point across in 4 minutes? They're like, you did. And you got a story out. I was like, I was 35 seconds over. I thought they were going to start sound the alarm on me.
Yeah, you've always, like, what I admire about you is that you've always been confident in everything that you do. Like, even when I'm like, you're not even prepared for the speech.
Hard, though. That was hard. Well, no, I can step on a stage and not have a speech. I think, the 4 minute mark, though, that was
That's
very
hard for me, because my mind goes blank.
We should do 4 minute podcasts.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're going to talk about or what they're going to be, but hey, maybe if it give me a lot of practice.
4 minute podcast.
I can do 4 minute speeches.
Yeah. No, I admire you being confident in what you do and going out there, and like, you've done all the podcast speaking, and I pushed me out of my comfort zone
this year, so it's good. You've stopped just being behind the scenes, and I'm proud of you for being in front of the scenes. So but yeah. So if you're considering going on a podcast booking tour or starting a podcast, or like maybe feeling called to speak more, I definitely highly suggest to start by being booked on other people's shows. If it's yourself reaching out, definitely make sure that you have a speaker one sheet or a podcast one sheet. You have very selective topics. You share a little bit about your bio, but also when you're sharing a pitch, be sure to compliment the show host. Enter your first line as a, if you saw a show, like an example, if you like found a show that you really wanted to be on, you wanted to reach out to the host, and you heard an episode that they had that was very similar to kind of the tone or the vibe that you were going for, compliment them about that show, and just share how you could also provide as much value as that person did on the show. Then lead into a little bit more information about what type of topics and things like that. But always lead with gratitude, always lead with information that's valuable and a compliment. And that can go a long way when you're pitching yourself on other shows. Well, thanks for tuning in for Broadcast Your Authority. If you like this episode, be sure to subscribe, ring that bell, leave us a comment, and we'll see you in the next episode.